This week in Grace's Girls Club, we've talked a lot about the medical field here recently, but we have never had this specialty. I want to introduce you to someone who I know to be very kind, but also extremely knowledgeable. I want to welcome Dr. Victoria Perkins to Grace's Girls Club. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Perkins. Please introduce yourself. Tell us your job and where you work.
I'm Victoria Perkins. I am an OBGYN. I work at Clinic for Women in downtown Huntsville.
So walk me through a little bit of your day-to-day job. I know sometimes OBGYNs are on call. I know you probably see patients in the office. Walk me through a little bit of what day-to-day looks like for you.
One thing that I love about my job is that we do so many different things. So every day I get to do a little bit different workflow, and it looks different depending on what's going on. So some days I see patients in the office, and some days I'm in the hospital and I deliver a lot of babies, and some days I'm in the operating room and I do surgeries, and on really fun days I do a little bit of everything, but it's always a little bit different, which is what makes it fun.
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to that. Walk me through the OBGYN specialty. Why would someone come to you? Why would someone need you? And how are you able to help your patients?
I focus on women's health throughout the lifespan, so everything from teenagers to young adults, people wanting to start their families, people growing their families after they've finished their families, and as we get older and aging. And I focus a lot on preventative care and making sure that women stay healthy throughout their lifespan.
Perfect. Dr. Perkins, of the letters in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, is there one of those or even several that you would say you use most on a daily basis?
I think science is going to be what I mostly do. I use a little bit of all of it, but I think when you think about medicine or particularly women's health, you're going to be focused mostly on science.
One of the interesting things that as I've been growing up has been learning women's health is not as widely studied as several other health, of children or of men or things of that nature. So you're kind of the go-to for all of your patients on all of the information they need. That's a pretty big responsibility.
Yes, it is. But it's part of what I love about my job. I think some of my job is focused on doing things or treating things, but a lot of my job is focused on education and making sure I'm a resource, but also providing really good resources to my patients so that they can understand more about their health and about their bodies and make sure that they make the choices that are right for them.
And that's why you're perfect for Grace's Girls Club. So let's say I'm at home and I'm a young girl watching this going, that sounds amazing. I think this is exactly what I want to do when I grow up. Walk me through educationally how you got to where you are today, but then also what educational advice you might have for them at home.
So I went to, after high school, I graduated from high school and I went to Auburn. I majored in microbiology, and then I went to medical school at UAB in Birmingham, which is 4 years. And then I went to residency, which is another 4 years. And I went to the University of Oklahoma, and then I came back home to Huntsville.
All right. So, and being an OBGYN is, like you said, it's its own specialty after med school.
Correct.
Did you do any internships, any shadowings, anything like that that you might recommend to other young girls who want to do this as well?
I did not. I really went into medical school with an open mind, and I think that that's kind of what you have to do because you really just don't know what you're going to like. I went in with an open mind and didn't really know where I wanted to end up, and I had not really ever shadowed anybody in OBGYN, so I didn't really know very much about it. You also don't learn that much about women's health in medical school. You learn some, but specifically like what I do every day, I didn't really learn in medical school, but I learned um, through rotations and when you get to see the different specialties in action. And it was very clear to me that this was what I was meant to do.
Wow, that's awesome. So what was it that was so attractive, so enticing to you for you to choose this career field for the rest of your life?
It's very high energy. It's always different, which keeps me interested. And I think that it's really, really needed. We need more women's health physicians. We need more um, focus on women's health, like you just mentioned, and I like being able to fill that need. I also really love the relationships and the continuity that I have with my patients, that I get to spend, their whole life with them and watch them change and grow, and their needs change, and that makes it really fun. But it's also very um, science focused, and I can focus on what's new and upcoming and really spend a lot of time educating and making sure that everybody, stays as healthy as they can.
Absolutely. So walk me through who might be a good candidate for your field. So if I was saying someone would be a good candidate for meteorology, I would say someone very thermodynamics, physics, calculus focused, someone who can take big scientific concepts and make them understandable to almost everyone, someone who has maybe a protector instinct, like during severe weather to protect their community, and then the TV component, someone who does well under a time crunch and under pressure. What might the characteristics be of someone who would be a good candidate for your field?
I think that first and foremost, you have to really love to learn. It is lifelong learning. I read almost every day. You really have to be interested in always expanding your knowledge and learning more about the upcoming research because it changes all the time. So I think that's number one. Number two, you really have to love this. This is a great job, but it's a hard job. And so if you love medicine and you love the idea of being really committed to this um, field, I think it's a really rewarding field, but it's challenging. So I think that that's an important part of it. I think somebody that is personable and likes having relationships and loves to talk, because I talk all day long, is important. And then I think same thing, having a strong sense of wanting to um, protect people and wanting to help people live the healthiest life that they can is really important. Um, and then I think that the last piece would be somebody who has a lot of energy, because this job it takes a lot of energy. There's a lot of things going on all at once.
Yes, you were telling me this earlier, which is it's just amazing to me that any human being can do this. It speaks to what you said, how much you love your job, but also how professional you are and how good you are at it. Some of your schedule, you were saying you might work an on-call night and then go right back to work, a full day's work, the very next day from as soon as you're on call. And then on the weekends, you said it was how long? 72 hours?
Hmm.
That is intense.
We're not awake that whole time. I promise.
I really thought you
uh,
were. I was like, how is she doing this?
no, and that wouldn't be, super
Safe.
good for anybody or safe. But you have to be available for the whole weekend if somebody needs you. But I promise we're not awake for 72 hours.
I had so much respect for you in that moment. I was like, I don't know what she does, but we all need to be doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend staying awake that long.
So you may feel like you already answered this in why you chose this job. If you feel like you did, just let me know. But what would you say is the best part of your job?
I think walking through life with people and getting to experience all the different changes that happen and getting to help them focus on staying healthy. Ideally, we stay healthy, we prevent um, illness. We treat illness if it comes, but ideally we prevent it altogether so that my patients can focus on, living their life and their jobs and their families and all the things that they care about. It's nice to be able to take some of that burden from them so that they can worry about other things.
Yeah, and you probably have, I imagine, just in a patient load, you probably have people on both ends of the spectrum. Some that probably are coming to you at ground zero needing a lot of information, and others that maybe you've been working with for some years and kind of know a little bit more. Like you said earlier, as you've been educating them, you probably have to be able to think to both the very advanced and the very foundational knowledge.
Yes, yeah. What I say and what I'm talking about each day and each patient it changes constantly.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you have to deal with every day at work?
I think that there's a lot of A lot of information out there that some is real and some is true and some is not. And so, especially in women's health, it's a vulnerable patient population. It's not very well studied. It's very easy to walk in and give information that isn't based on best research or best evidence. And so, I do a lot of myth dispelling and talking about what we do know and what we don't know. And we don't know everything. We don't know, and we don't know everything we don't understand how everything works all the time. And being able to say, like, I don't know, we don't know that. And providing as much up to date information as I can is a challenge. It's hard to present information in a way that makes sense to people and but is also concise and doesn't take away from the rest of their day. I could spend a whole day explaining, all the different aspects of my job and making sure it's concise and to the point. And then some days this job is hard. It's really fun. It's really great to deliver babies and do surgery and help people, but some days I can't do those things. Some days it's people have hard things that they walk through that I'm walking through with them, and that emotionally can be really hard.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine that. You're probably with your patients on some of their best days and then some of them on some of the hardest days that they'll ever walk through as well.
Yeah.
So one last question for you. I do want to let you get back to work. I know you probably have a very busy day ahead of you, but if you had a message to young girls or young students in general who were interested in joining the STEM workforce one day, what would your wisdom and your advice to them be?
I think that my advice would be to stay focused on what they want. And it's okay to change that. It's okay to reassess and change what your goals are, what you want to do, or what you like. But I think that it's really important that you never let anybody talk you out of what you want, because people mean well, but sometimes the advice that they give is that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. And I think that you have to make a decision to yourself that you're not ever going to let somebody convince you that you can't or you shouldn't.
That is the first time anyone in Grace's Girls Club has ever said exactly that. And I loved it. I think that is so true. We just had a conversation here at work the other day about, okay, all of us have been in our careers now for many, many years, some more than others. We had a conversation of what is my next dream? Have I achieved my last dream and what is my next one? Because I don't ever want to sit stagnant. I want to make sure I'm continuing to look to what I can do next, which is a big part of what you just said.
Oh,
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Victoria Perkins from Clinic for Women, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time and sharing your expertise with us.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.